Hi everyone, Elliot here from EntreEducator.com, a place for educators to learn the skills to become entrepreneurs. Today I'm super excited because I've got Shayna on the line from EspressoEnglish.net. It's been a long time since I've been using Espresso English myself. For anyone who doesn't know, I actually taught English as a second language for a year in Vietnam, 3 years in China, and then 1 year in South Korea before I went back to the United States to do my master's and teaching credential. So I've seen this website for a long time. Shayna, you're on the line. Can you introduce yourself?
Cool. Yeah, I'm all over Google with my English stuff. Yeah, I'm Shayna. I run EspressoEnglish.net, which sells courses and ebooks teaching English as a second language. And that also came out of my experience teaching English abroad in Brazil. In my case, I was teaching in groups and classrooms and companies, and eventually I moved everything online, which is where it is today.
Awesome. Was there some sort of like need or something that your students were telling you? What really prompted you to be like, you know what, I'm going to take this online? How did it start?
Yeah, so my students in Brazil were all adults. They were usually pretty busy people. They had demanding jobs. A lot of them had families. And then the commute in Brazil by public transportation is not always great. And so what would happen is a lot of them would have trouble getting to English class regularly and consistently. I mean, we'd only have one or two classes a week. And if they missed a few, they just weren't making any progress. And so a couple of them who were young moms, they had babies at home, they had full-time jobs, they were trying to learn English on top of that. They approached me and they said, we really want to make progress in our English, but we can't always get to class. Could you just send us some lessons by email? We'll study them on our lunch break or maybe when getting ready in the morning or something, or on the phone, on the bus. And I said, okay, I can do that. So whatever I was teaching in the classroom, I started typing it up and sending it to these students by email. And at the same time, I figured, let me also post it online because maybe others could benefit from it as well. And so that's how Espresso English initially started, was from this need of people who are just really busy and getting to an hour and a half class all the way across the city was not fitting with their lifestyle. But they could do kind of this bite-sized lesson online. And so that's essentially how it started.
Awesome. You know, it's so crazy because I just spoke with a woman, a teacher yesterday, because you and I have been taking some time to set this time up. And she reached out to me. She has her own online tutoring business, but the problem that she expressed to me is that all of her classes are live. And she just reached out to me. She's in the Entre Educator group, and she was like, Elliot, I want to just learn how to work smarter. And then
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that I brought up to her was like, a blog can be a great way to just begin posting the things that you already have created for your students. So as you know, teachers are like super creative and resourceful, but a lot of us don't exactly initially have that technical skill. So I'm wondering, what did you do to build your site? Did you learn those technical skills? Did you hire someone, a developer, to do it for you? How did that
Mm-hmm.
begin?
I just did it myself using the tools that were available. So a free WordPress is the software that I used and still use. A free template, I just picked one that I thought looked nice. And nowadays they really do try to make a lot of things pretty user friendly. So you don't need to know code or anything like that to set it up. It's usually a pretty, if you're familiar with being online in general and using email and whatnot, it's pretty simple to can set it up, even if it's not perfect the way you want it to look. It's a start, right? I started with just a free template, got it set up, just started publishing things. That was the important thing. I started getting the content out there. I did it on a blog. Later, I also started on a YouTube channel, and I actually do recommend that folks start on YouTube because YouTube is a lot more discoverable, actually. My YouTube channel took off a lot. My blog took quite a few months to really start getting visitors. For a while, it was really only just those few people who I was, my private students. But on YouTube, if teachers are comfortable either being in front of camera or if they're like me, they're not comfortable being on camera, do voice over slides. I did that for many years. But the important thing is to get your content out there and start building a following, and don't let the tech stuff or maybe perfectionism hold you back from really getting it out there. That would be my advice. And that's really what I did. I just kept publishing every it was a few times a week, because after basically every class I would give in the classroom, I would take whatever I created or questions the students had asked, and I would just I would type it up on the bus ride home, and then when I got home I would post it, and I was posting a few times a week and just building up that library of content so that people could find me and get familiar with my teaching method. And I just kept doing that week after week.
That is really, really cool. Yeah, I started the Entree Educator blog also on WordPress, and I agree for some people like myself who didn't go to school for programming or anything, it's something that you can learn, like pretty well, pretty quickly. As far as the timeline goes, I would love to know how long you worked on it when you really began to see some kind of financial figures coming in and sort of maybe realize like you could actually make this your business that you do instead of going to live classes to teach. Do you remember
Yep.
how long, was it 6 months or a year or 2 years?
Yeah, it was a slow process, and I did it kind of by steps. So, about 6 months in, I had built up some website traffic. I had built up an email list, very, very important. You really want an email list so you can contact people directly. I just said, sign up and I'll send you new lessons as they come out. That's all it was, really simple. I built up an email list, and I decided to try selling an ebook, which it was called 100 Common Errors in English. I wrote it in like a weekend because it was all stuff that was taken from my students, so it was pretty easy to write. Wrote it in Microsoft Word, saved it as a PDF. I mean, super simple here, no fancy design. And I emailed my list and I said, who wants this? I had like a PayPal button that they could pay for it. It was $15. And I think about 10 or 15 people bought it. So you can do the math. That's not a ton of money, but I quickly realized that this did have potential, that, okay, if 10 or 15 people are willing to pay me for this digital file, maybe there could be more. And so what I started doing is I started actually cutting back slightly on my live in-person hours. I was working for 3 different language schools and I had private clients. So I was able to kind of say, okay, I'm no longer available at this time, but I'm still available at this time. So I didn't just quit entirely. I kind of started cutting back a little bit on my teaching hours so that I would be able to work more on the online business. And the next thing I did was 8 months in, the ebook was about 6 months in, then about 8 months in, I realized as I saw students coming into the language school and swiping their credit card to prepay the next semester of lessons, I thought, people prepay for, a pack of 10 lessons or a semester at the English school. Maybe I can get them to prepay online. So what I did is I emailed my list and I said, in September or August, I don't remember, I'm going to give an online course on travel English. It will be 30 lessons in 30 days, $30. You can pay for it here, and then I will send you the lessons, one per day during the month of August. And about 17 people took me up on that. So 17 times 30, about $500 there. But I got paid to create the course. And so I had set the expectation, you'll receive a lesson a day. That's what I did. I created a lesson a day. I sent it to these students. And then, of course, once finished, that course was done. And now I can sell it over and over again as a finished product. And I just kept doing that over and over with different products. So my next one was business English. My next one after that was idioms. And every time I pre-sold it, I got people to pay up front, created it, delivered it. It's always an intense month to create it, but it's great because you know that since there's paying students waiting for the next lesson, you can't dilly-dally, you have to get it out there. And of course, you can also get great feedback from those folks who are the first people to step into your course. All in all, when I finally quit all of my other teaching jobs and income streams, it was about 2.5 years in. I'm a little bit more conservative and I wanted to wait until the business was really, really not only, it was by that point, it was not only making my teaching income, but substantially exceeding it. But I'm just more conservative. So some people would have maybe quit as soon as it got to the level of, the same level of income as teaching. But I wanted to wait a little longer, make sure it was really stable and whatnot. And also, of course, this is my first time doing it, so I wasn't sure how things would go. So I waited, about 2.5 years, but then after that, I quit everything and haven't been back to live teaching or being employed by anyone else ever since.
Wow. So how long has that been now?
So now that's been, all in all, it's been almost 10 years for Espresso English. So I quit 2.5 years in. So about 7 years that I've been doing it, just this.
Right. Wow. So for anyone who hasn't yet visited espressoenglish.net, you really have to go because you'll notice like the format and the framework of the website. For anyone who wants to create any website about any topic, I think that your site is so brilliantly done because it's like you could take the end game in mind and really do everything asynchronous, whether it's creating digital books or digital courses, and then just keep replicating that no matter if you're a language teacher or you're teaching any subject really. I really love the framework of what you created, and I'm wondering, did you sort of have that in mind before,
Mm.
all of these years, or did you ever offer live online classes too, or was it always in your head to have it asynchronous?
Always in my head to have it asynchronous. At the time, I was living in Brazil, and the internet was like 90% good. So really pretty reliable, but I just never trusted that the 10% it would be down or have issues wouldn't be during a live class. And so I just did not want to deal with those headaches, having someone pay for a class and then having us spend 20 minutes just trying to connect. And so what I did is I always had live classes kind of in my back pocket as a backup plan. So just in case, okay, if I didn't sell enough courses this month, or if things are kind of struggling along with the course sales, then maybe I can email my list and say, hey, I have 10 spots this week for a live lesson, just quickly make back some money that way. But I never had to do it. So nothing is live, everything is asynchronous, and it's really, really flexible. Some of the courses do include actually homework, which people can send in their writing or send in a recording of themselves speaking. And then me, or now I also employ an assistant teacher, will correct it also asynchronously and get it back to the student within a couple of days. So there is that chance for that asynchronous interaction and for a student to get feedback. It's just not live direct speaking.
Wow, that is really cool. So, I really want to touch more upon this kind of framework because this whole Entree Educator group is just filled with educators. Some of them are language teachers, some of them are tutors, some of them are traditional teachers. And I'm just thinking like the English as a second language world has so many gigantic apps like Duolingo,
Yeah.
and would you, in this day and age, 2021, could you still recommend for a language teacher, whether they're teaching English or French or Spanish or anything, to still go ahead and build their own type of language site, even though now we have all of these apps in place? Is it still a good time, do you think, for someone to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when someone wants to learn from you, it's usually because they want to learn from you. So they haven't done this global research project and done pros and cons sheets for Rosetta Stone versus this versus your site. That people don't learn like that. If they find a teacher who they resonate with, they like the approach, they like the method, they like the personality, they just find that they have an aha moment with that teacher, then they want to keep following that teacher. So think of like your favorite authors. If you want to read a book on, I don't know, business or marketing or self-improvement, you don't like research all the possible options and like weigh them up, oh, who's the most well-known, which is the best reviewed. No. If you find an author you like, you keep reading books by that author. And so it's the same thing with teachers, I think. Your way of teaching is going to be unique. And I initially also had these thoughts. I thought, oh goodness, how can I convince them? You have English Town, you have some websites where people can get 24/7 access to a live teacher. And I was like, oh, will people really buy anything from me? But they do, and they did. And in fact, I actually talked to a student who had canceled their subscription to one of these larger sites. And I asked him, I said, why? It seems like it's one of the most comprehensive resources out there. And he said, it was too big, too overwhelming. There were like 1,000 lessons in there, and I didn't know where to go and what to start with. And the way I structure my site, it's really usually step by step. I mean, you start with lesson one and you go through the lesson. So there's a path to follow. It's not overwhelming. Students know that when they send an email, there's a teacher at the other end of that, not just like a faceless company who doesn't really care. And so absolutely, for all those reasons, I still suggest starting your own teaching business online.
That is really cool. Shayna, I'm wondering what do you think makes Espresso English stand apart from either the apps or anyone else's website? What makes it special, do you think? What have your students told you?
Yeah, so I had a hard time figuring this out for a very long time. I couldn't see it. I didn't feel like I had anything that was special, or I got really hung up on the idea of it has to be a unique selling proposition. I was like, well, there's nothing really unique about what I'm doing. There's other people doing lessons online. But then I did ask some of my students, why did you choose to study with Espresso English? What do you like about my lessons? And a lot of people came out with the ideas that my lessons are very clear, straightforward, no fluff. They're bite-sized. They get right to the point, kind of like an espresso. So I really named it well. I did not have this connection in mind when I named the site. But, an espresso, it's a small, concentrated shot of coffee, of caffeine. And so same thing with my lessons. I don't beat around the bush. I just get kind of straight to the point. Most of my lessons are 15 minutes or less, or even 10 minutes or less. And so students know it's just this super concentrated, powerful chunk. And that's kind of the approach that whoever studies with me enjoys. And I need to do a bit of a better job kind of emphasizing that on the website, that these are really short, sweet, bite-sized. They fit into a busy lifestyle, but you're still going to learn a lot in those 10 minutes. I could do a better job of actually emphasizing that. But it did take me a while to figure out, and it was the feedback from my students that actually opened my eyes to what it was. And I'm not the only person with this teaching style, but when someone discovers me and they just get hooked on my lessons, they just keep studying with me. And I have many, many students who take multiple courses. They'll start with maybe just one, see what it's like. And if they like it, then I see they'll buy another one and another one and another one. And that's really nice to see.
Cool. These days, where are the majority of your students finding you?
Most of them through Google search. So when we talked about I was publishing lessons on the blog, I haven't stopped in the past 10 years. And so I've built up quite a huge library, both on the blog as well as on YouTube, of free tips and lessons. And again, these are just bite-sized little things. And so now I just have quite a big presence in search. So when someone is searching for present perfect versus past perfect, or silent letters in English, my post is often on the front page. Now, this takes time and effort, right? You're putting a lot of effort into making all these posts. But the nice thing is that once they're up, they keep being a signpost for you, right? They're just up there. People can find you through them. And again, if they like what you have to teach, if they have that light bulb moment while reading your stuff, then they might want to take the next step and sign up to your list or join a course. But yeah, most people find me through search, either Google search or YouTube search, YouTube recommended videos, that kind of thing.
Cool. And I'm wondering, Shanna, do you check out the analytics? Like, where are most of your students located?
They're really all over. I've got quite a lot of actually immigrants, so folks who are living in the US or Canada, the UK, Australia. And so they're among the most dedicated students because improving their English is a really urgent and practical concern. So I've got a lot of immigrants in my courses. And then the rest it's really diverse. It's from all over. When I started, there was a good size following from Brazil, because that was where I was spreading the word initially. But since my lessons are all in English, folks have to have at least a pre-intermediate level to even understand them. But that also means, since I didn't, for example, start out with English and Portuguese, that would have niched me down to Brazil and Portugal and other Portuguese speaking countries. They've got broad appeal to anyone who's at least a pre-intermediate English learner anywhere in the world. And so really get students from all over these days.
Awesome. Let's talk about your courses. I'm trying to envision what it looks like. Is it sort of you in front of a camera? Is it kind of like a PowerPoint presentation? What do most of them look like?
So my very first courses were actually only text and audio because I did not have a decent video camera. So I was just sending people a PDF and an audio MP3 of me speaking through it. Later, eventually, when I got a webcam, I was still nervous about being on camera. So I did those voiceover slideshows. And all of my courses were like that for quite a while. And eventually, a few years later, I leveled up again, got a better camera, bought a teleprompter so that I could get really good videos just the first time through without like messing up and having to refilm. And I redid all of my courses not all of them, most of them. Some are still in progress. With me on camera, and then in editing, I'll put some words or an image on the screen or a diagram where appropriate. So even just the production style of my courses has also evolved and improved over time.
Hmm, that is really cool. Do you have a platform that you use for your courses? Are you using Thinkific? Are you hosting it on your own site? How do you actually put the course on and then like get paid from it? Are you still kind of using that buy now, PayPal kind of button, or what's the technical or software behind it?
So all of my courses are hosted on my own site with the program called Member Mouse. And so I can take both credit cards and PayPal directly on my own site and they get access to it. Now, I don't actually recommend that people start with it because it is a bit of a technical learning curve. And I think there are better options like Teachable and Thinkific and some of these things that are set up just to make it very user-friendly and intuitive to set up a course. The reason I chose it at the time was that, again, we're talking 6 or 7 years ago, it was the only one that offered the ability to do like bundles. So if you had access to course A, you wouldn't automatically get access to course B. I wanted to keep each course kind of separate. But again, now we've got a lot more options. So some of those ones that are kind of more specifically set up for easy creation of online courses is where I recommend that people get started.
Gotcha. That is really cool. Again, I can't emphasize how great the framework of Espresso English is because, English as a second language is so evergreen in content. And I'm
Mm.
just, I'm thinking there are a lot of people in the Entree Educator group, and, this interview is really for myself and it's for them and it's for any educator who wants to grow their own business. Looking back from, 10 years before, if you were going to start from the very beginning, knowing what you know now, what kind of advice, what tips or tricks or strategies would you tell someone, to really get into it, just like you did?
So my big mistake at the beginning was I was just publishing stuff on my own site and waiting and hoping that people would discover it somehow. Now it worked, but it took months and months and months. And for a while, it was quite frustrating. It was just tumbleweeds. That's a really hard way to get discovered. And so if I could go back and tell myself to do something differently, what I would say is be more willing to go into other people's audiences and be interviewed as a guest on someone else's YouTube channel in a similar niche, be interviewed on other people's podcasts, guest post on other people's blogs, again in parallel niches or similar niches, because that would have grown my audience a lot faster since I'm going where there's already readers and viewers, than just publishing and hoping and praying that somehow people will find my site. So I would have been more proactive about, some people call this borrowing other people's audiences or being a guest expert. And a lot of times, if you're just there to, people wonder about, oh, but it's my competitor. Well, a lot of times, if you're just giving value and just, it's, you can build a relationship that it's, hey, you're just contributing value to my Facebook group. You're contributing value to my YouTube channel. And if people want to learn more, they can check you out. But it's not the type of thing where, oh, I'm trying to steal people away. I have quite a few friends who do the exact same thing I do, exact same niche. And we've appeared on each other's channels and guest posted on each other's blogs. Because when you think about learners too, a lot of learners, especially folks who are health motivated, they want to learn from a few different sources. You want to get everything you can kind of about that area. And so I know I have students who have bought a course with my friend who's appeared on my channel, and they've bought my course, and maybe they're also subscribed to someone else's newsletter. So I don't really see it as a competition type of thing, but more as we're all working in the same field. We all have different things to offer. So, let's help each other out and, cross promote, cross appear on each other's channels. And so if you're just starting out and you don't have an audience, a great way to start building one is to borrow other people's audiences by getting in front of them and just offering lots of value.
That sounds really awesome. Shayna, where do you foresee espressoenglish.net going in the future years?
Um, I don't really know. All I know is that I really enjoy doing it. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I would love to expand more and actually enroll more students and also bring on more virtual assistant teachers, because it's a role that I can offer other teachers, which also has a lot of flexibility. It's something that I really would have loved back in the day. And I would love to just have more students and more teachers getting kind of friendly support, friendly asynchronous support, and just keep on going.
That sounds awesome. I really appreciate the time. I'm so excited to have done this interview with you. Like I said, I've known about Espresso English for so many years now, and it's great to meet you. For anyone who's interested in the things that you are creating, building, and doing, where else can we find you on the internet?
Okay, so obviously espressoenglish.net is my main website. Go there, check it out, sign up to my email list to see what kind of emails I send. Don't be intimidated, because again, this is something that I built over the course of 10 years. So it looks like a huge site, but it's been a slow step-by-step process. And then I also talk about kind of the behind the scenes of the business in a podcast called Entrepreneurs in Motion.com. And that's where I kind of things I'm experimenting with, lessons learned from the business, that kind of thing. And I think a couple hundred episodes or so. So if you're interested in the backstory and kind of how I built this, that's the place to go.
That is awesome. Again, Shayna, I really appreciate the time. It's awesome to meet you, and I hope we can keep up chatting in the near future.
Cool. Thank you, Elliot. I hope this is helpful.